Now at 6, the latest in the kidnapping and murder case of Mahogany Jackson. What we're now learning about 5 of those suspects charged. Then Helene is now a post-tropical low-pressure system. But for thousands of communities, the damage has already been done. What we know on the ground. But first, it's one of college football's most anticipated matchups. The countdown is on as the Alabama Crimson Tide prepares to face the Georgia Bulldogs.
And the remnants of Helene staying off to our north for right now, but looking in the Gulf of Mexico, we need to keep our eyes open as another system could potentially impact the Gulf Coast sometime next week. We'll look at all those probabilities and more coming up.
Live, streaming, and on the ABC 3340 app. This is ABC 3340 News Weekend.
New video just into our newsroom this evening. Former President Donald Trump arrived at Birmingham Shuttlesworth International Airport as the Tide gears up to play the number 2 ranked Georgia Bulldogs. We're also getting new video from outside Bryant-Denny Stadium. You can see hundreds of Bama fans were waiting just to get into the stadium. This video was taken just an hour ago. We're just 30 minutes away from Alabama taking on the Georgia Bulldogs in Tuscaloosa. Good evening, I'm Olivia Gauthier in for Megan Scrano. ABC 3340 Sports Director Jeff Spiegel joins us in the studio. Jeff, what can we expect from tonight's big game?
Olivia, every time these two teams have gotten together, it's been high drama with highly skilled athletes. And the guy for Alabama who has to make big plays is Jalen Milroe. And the stage won't be too big. Milroe was the MVP in the SEC title game win over Georgia in December. Here's former Tide head coach and now ESPN College Game Day analyst Nick Saban on the Milroe factor.
Well, I don't think anybody really realizes the significance of having a dual threat running quarterback, especially to somebody of the magnitude of Jalen Milroe. I mean, this guy is one of the fastest guys on the team. He's very instinctive as a runner. And it's not like when somebody gets in a wildcat and just starts running plays with an extra blocker. This guy can pass the ball. He's a good passer. So you got to defend all these things on every play. And I think that's what really creates a lot of difficulty for the defense.
Now tonight, after the Bama-Georgia game, we'll have live coverage of Alabama's post-game press conference with Kalen DeBoer, Milroe, and more Tide players on the EOG Wrap. We'll also have full coverage of Auburn's battle with the Oklahoma Sooners. Olivia?
Thanks, Jeff. In Tuscaloosa, fans are gearing up for what just might be the biggest home game of the season. The Alabama Crimson Tide will be taking on the Georgia Bulldogs in just a few short moments. This morning, I had the pleasure of spending some time at College Game Day and, of course, talked with some fans getting ready for a great game.
Roll Tide!
It's always one of college football's most anticipated matchups. Thousands of football fans were outside on the quad early to be a part of the game day hype. And of course, witness the homecoming of former Alabama head coach Nick Saban.
Seeing Coach Saban sit up there for the very first time. I mean, it was hard to see him go, but I'm glad that he joined game day so I can see him every Saturday.
No sleep was no problem for fans today. Georgia and Bama fans traveled from near and far.
We woke up at 4. We got here around 5:30-ish.
Okay.
It's a good day.
We got here actually yesterday night, and I drove up this morning about 6:30.
Both sides confident their team has what it takes to take home the win.
Bama doesn't have their key weapon anymore, Nick Saban, so I think Georgia's going to take this one.
I got confidence in our new coach. I think, he got the guys hyped for the game.
But just how confident are they? I asked fans their final score predictions.
34-26, Georgia. I got 31-27 Dogs.
35-32.
I'm gonna go 35-28 Georgia.
35-21 Tide. I like that.
I'm going to say 27-20 Dogs.
I think it's going to be like 21-17 Tide.
Kickoff is in just under 30 minutes. We'll see which of those predictions was the most accurate. Be sure to tune in on ABC 3340 and, of course, our end-of-game wrap tonight at 10. And it's not just the fans who are excited about tonight's kickoff. We spoke with many business owners in the area who say preparation for a game day takes weeks, if not months, in advance. Hotels in Tuscaloosa have been booked since the start of the year. Alabama fans are already celebrating the big game today. These are new pictures just into our newsroom. We want to see how you're celebrating game day. Scan the QR code on your screen now to access Chime In. Your pictures may be featured in our next newscast. And it's turned out to be a great day for some college football. You're taking a live look at Bryant-Denny Stadium as Alabama prepares to face off against Georgia Bulldogs, plus a live look at Toomer's Corner in Auburn. It's been feeling pretty good outside today with temperatures in the 70s for a lot of us and cloudy skies. Meteorologist Riley Blackwell joins us now. Riley, the remnants of Helene are now spinning to our north. Will this bring any impacts for our game day forecast?
Now, if impacts included clouds, yes, but rain, fortunately, no. We did have a couple of stray showers on the eastern side of the state, which means down in Auburn might see a stray shower heading out of that game, wrapping up right here shortly. But for Tuscaloosa, some clouds overhead, but likely not going to be seeing any showers as that low pressure that was formerly Helene is now off to our north. We're also starting to see some drier air filter in as well. So overall, a very comfortable, calm air mass is in place. Although if you're really along and to the north and west of I-20, you are likely going to see some clouds overhead and a stray shower can't be ruled out. But we're going to hold on to that cloud cover for the rest of the evening, and several of us likely going to be dropping into the 50s overnight before another calm day, but cloudy days in store for us for tomorrow. Now, the upcoming week is looking calm, but looking down in the tropics, we have another area we need to keep an eye on. We'll take a look at that and the full 7-day coming up.
All I heard was help, help. She was covered with bricks, and the only thing I could do at that point was call 911 because I was too afraid to come out. I didn't know if the tornado would circle back around.
Residents in North Carolina are reeling after what they call a war zone. 15 people in the area are left injured, 4 of them hospitalized, and 14 buildings turned to rubble. This is after a tornado touched down near Rocky Mount just after 1:30 Friday afternoon. One man had to be rescued after being pinned down by debris. We're continuing to get new video this evening of the impacts from Helene. In Asheville, North Carolina, a home was left floating in floodwaters and boats were tossed in Keaton Beach, Florida, with many of them stranded in the middle of flooded streets. Many homes also completely swept away. Helene also ripped through southern Georgia late Thursday night. Residents in Valdosta are dealing with the aftermath of multiple tropical systems, including Tropical Storm Debbie and Hurricane Idalia. Trees fell on several homes, with Helene bringing some of the worst damage seen in several years.
It wasn't bad till around, it seemed like 12 o'clock, and we started hearing these really loud noises, like trees falling. And so I got in the closet, the walk-in closet, and it's a good thing I did because a tree fell in the house over our bed.
At least 17 people were killed from Helene in Georgia. Several of those deaths were due to fallen trees. Crews cleaned fallen power lines and debris for several hours Friday. And at least 52 people have died from Helene across the southeast, including Florida, Virginia, and the Carolinas. As Helene weakens to a post-tropical low-pressure system, much of the rain and strong winds has died down, but for dozens of communities across the southeast, the damage has already been done. Here's ABC's Faith Aubrey.
Massive devastation in cities along Florida's Big Bend area. Taylor County taking a direct hit from Helene as it made landfall Thursday night as a powerful Category 4 hurricane.
There's some real significant damage in that part where the eye wall came onto land. To just see everything washed out on some of those homes was really catastrophic.
Keaton Beach, north of Cedar Key, nearly obliterated.
It's just sad in Keaton Beach. Nothing. That's it.
A similar scene further south in Horseshoe Beach. Homes reduced to piles of rubble. Helene weakened as it moved inland, but still brought with it damaging winds and devastating floods. Rescuers carrying out dozens of swiftwater rescues in Atlanta. Some areas seeing 11 inches of rain.
While you've seen firsthand the destruction from fallen trees and down power lines and crumbled buildings in this part of the state, we're dealing with flash flooding. And believe it or not, mudslides and avalanches up in the northern part of our state.
In North Carolina, evacuations ordered downstream after water began overtopping Lake Lure Dam. And in Tennessee, patients and staff at this hospital had to be evacuated after moving to the roof amid rapidly rising floodwaters. President Biden has approved federal disaster declarations for several states impacted by Helene, including Florida, Georgia, the Carolinas, and Tennessee, freeing up federal resources.
We're moving medical resources. We're moving search and rescue teams into those critical areas. We've got generators moving to help with the power issues.
More than 4 million customers lost power during Helene. Crews now hard at work across 10 states working to restore power to everyone. Faith Abube, ABC News, Atlanta.
Several Alabama crews are helping those impacted by Helene. The Vestavia Hills Fire Department deployed personnel, as well as the city of Mountain Brook and Prattville. This is new video of teams in North Carolina this morning. They're now heading to Asheville to help with search and rescue efforts. Coleman Power Board says its crews are now heading to East Tennessee. Our sister station in East Tennessee says thousands are still in the dark. Alabama Power crews are in Waycross, Georgia, helping with power restoration efforts there. And Just into our newsroom, we now know the manner of death after a decomposing body was found Thursday near Jefferson State Parkway. The coroner's office says the manner of death is a homicide. Birmingham police are not releasing the cause of death at this time. The body was found on property owned by Jefferson State Community College. New details on 5 people charged in the kidnapping and murder of Mahogany Jackson. The suspects have had their charges upgraded from felony murder to capital murder. Jackson was found dead in February on the side of the road at 17th Street Southwest and Laurel Avenue. She was reported missing the day before. 8 suspects were charged in connection to the case. This morning, Birmingham residents are remembering the 4 people killed in last Saturday's mass shooting in the 5 Points South District. A prayer session was held outside Hush nightclub this morning. Thursday night, a prayer vigil was held to honor the lives lost. We spoke with one mother who lost her child in Saturday's mass shooting. She has this message to share.
Love on your kids. Like, whatever you're going through with your parents, like, you want to get nothing but one parent just like you get your kids. Like, make it work, fix family issues, love on family, because you don't get number one.
Crime Stoppers has received more than 100 tips since the shooting. So far, no one is in custody. Last Saturday's mass shooting marks the 2nd mass shooting in Birmingham this year. As the concern of gun violence grows, city and state leaders continue searching for solutions. U.S. Senator Tommy Tuberville was in Birmingham Friday morning. We asked him about his thoughts on the violence and what legislation he would support to aid local law enforcement.
We need to give these people more money. We need to get more people that are good policemen on the streets. We've talked about individual police cars funded by the federal government for each policeman, where they can drive them and drive them home, park them in their neighborhoods. We have to have deterrence.
Friday, Tuberville said he had not yet spoken with Birmingham Mayor Randall Woodfin since the mass shooting, but said he had spoken with Jefferson County commissioners about future plans. The city of Birmingham says it's finalizing a settlement agreement with an unlicensed venue that was the scene of a mass shooting in July. 4 people were killed and 10 others were hurt. The city says an agreement could be reached in 2 weeks. A hearing was held Friday morning. Birmingham City Attorney Nicole King says the property owner terminated the lease agreement and has agreed not to lease out the property to any other event center.
We have been working aggressively to get a deal reached, and we are confident that we do not want another tragedy to occur at this location again.
King says they are still working out other terms. The amended order will stay in place for the meantime. New information on the condemnation of the Bankhead Towers apartment complex. A city spokesperson is now telling us the condemnation is based on several fire, building, and house code violations. A notice could be seen on the front entrance ordering all residents to vacate the property. Residents who enter the building could face fines up to $500. A man charged with murder in St. Clair County has had his bond revoked. Miles Phillips was charged back in 2022 after a man was found dead in Moody. Court records show Phillips left the state without authorization and missed an upcoming drug test. He is being held in the St. Clair County Jail with no bond. The Jefferson County Sheriff's Office is investigating after a woman was shot and killed in Brighton. Deputies were dispatched to the Brighton Police Department Friday morning where they found 28-year-old Candace Williams dead. It's believed Williams was driven to the police department after being shot at another location.
We've got a lot of, thousands and thousands of people without electricity, but every hour goes by, the crews are moving forward and getting more people back online.
We're getting new video this evening of storm damage in Ohio. Remnants from Helene left thousands of residents in the dark. Thankfully, no one was hurt and no fatalities in Ohio have been reported. We continue to get new video this evening of the damage from Helene. This is new aerial footage of floodwaters and mudslides, leaving roads impassable in Old Fort Mountain, North Carolina. 6 people died in North Carolina, including a 4-year-old girl. Several organizations in Alabama are helping those impacted by Helene. The Aniana Fire Department is hosting a supply drive. The drive starts Monday at the All Good Town Hall and Fire Department. Supplies can be dropped off from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday. Items include bottled water, food, and baby supplies. And we're taking another look outside as we're just a few minutes before kickoff between Alabama and Georgia. You're looking at Bryant-Denny Stadium and Toomer's Corner in Auburn as the Tigers fall 21-27 to the Oklahoma Sooners. It's feeling good for a lot of us right now, but a lot of the country is still reeling from Helene. Meteorologist Riley Blackwell joins us now. Riley, as Helene moves on, all eyes are on the Gulf for what could be another possible system. What do we know right now?
Now, all we basically know is we do have a potential area of interest and development down in the Gulf of Mexico on the Western Caribbean. We'll get to that in just a second. First, let's get through tonight. Some couple of showers on the eastern side of the state. We are likely going to have clouds overhead and maybe a couple of passing showers for the rest of the evening as the remnants of Helene still continues to spin off to our north. And with this boundary starting to move through once again by tomorrow afternoon, very spotty showers certainly can't be ruled out. Mainly cloud cover overhead for most of us. Some may see a couple of peaks of sunshine, but most of the day tomorrow will likely feature partly to mostly cloudy skies, but at least throughout the day on Monday, skies will generally start to clear and rain chances will start to diminish. But now in the Western Caribbean and in the Gulf of Mexico, we have one area of particular interest that has a 50% chance of development over the next 7 days. Now, all we know is we're likely going to have some sort of system in the Gulf of Mexico by sometime next week, but there's really no skill in forecasting beyond about 7 or 10 days, especially in terms of the impact, intensity, and location. But here's a general idea of what we could expect. So a tropical depression will likely be in the Gulf of Mexico by sometime next week. Now, we do have a couple of spaghetti models out there right now, but I wouldn't say those are the most reliable because it's hard to get an exact track or an idea of a track until the system forms. But let's look at the GFS. It's really the only model that can go out that far. It's the only reason we're going to use this particular model. But the system's going to be forming somewhere in the Western Caribbean sometime by the early or middle of the coming week, making its way into the Gulf of Mexico by the middle and end of next week. And right now the GFS has it starting out going off to the north and west before starting to bend off to the north and east. Now, remember, this is not an exact forecast by any means. I would say almost anywhere from maybe Houston, Texas, all the way once again to the Appalachian Bay and all the way down to Tampa just needs to be aware of the potential system that this could become that will likely be impacting somewhere by the middle and end of next week or sometime this time next week as well. But still likely going to see the chance for heavier rain and gusty winds to at least some part of the southeast until that system begins to move out. But like I said, way too early and way too far out to know anything beyond that. We are likely going to have another tropical system in the Gulf of Mexico. But we are also starting to see the rainfall amount start to increase over the next 7 days, especially further down to the south, which could be indicative that somewhere along the coast just needs to be aware of this particular system. But at least overnight tonight, not looking too bad, anywhere from about 58 to 62. There will be a few showers overhead, quite breezy at times, and it's likely still going to be relatively cloudy, especially along and north of I-20. But a stray shower still can't be ruled out for tomorrow, but sunshine likely going to return for much of this week. Highs will be a little above average in the middle 80s, overnight lows in the low to middle 60s.
And stay on top of what's happening in the Gulf. Just scan the QR code on your screen and access the ABC 3340 weather app. The app gives you access to live radar, James's weather blog, and the 7-day forecast. And just into our newsroom, one man was shot and killed, and a suspect is behind bars in Jefferson County. The sheriff's office responded to budget tell ins and suits in Fairfield this morning. Deputies found a 35-year-old man who was shot just before 11:30 today. He died at the scene. A 28-year-old suspect surrendered. And we have one more thing before we go. In Jefferson County, the city of Irondale is celebrating its 137th birthday with a day of music. The city is hosting its 3rd annual City of Irondale Music Festival. The festival is at Beacon Park with music from all genres, including American Idol winner Ruben Studdard.
I think it benefits the community as a whole as far as being able to come together and just enjoy and fellowship. You know, it's so much tragedy that has gone on in the city in the past couple of weeks, so this is something that we really need.
The city will host its 3rd concert November 2nd. That's all the time for the news at 6. Stay with ABC 3340 tonight at 10 for the end of game wrap. ABC 3340 Sports Director Jeff Spiegel will break down all of today's college football highlights, including the Alabama-Georgia game. Have a great evening, everyone. Thanks for watching.